Good morning and welcome to Thursday Thought. Each Sunday in our worship services here at Riverwalk, we set aside some time for the communion. Now, some may call it the Eucharist or some other designation. Many of us are familiar with this religious observance, even if we don't attend regularly or our particular church maybe does not regularly participate in that kind of thing. Now, the mechanism for delivering a piece of unleavened bread and the wine, or the fruit of the vine, as many call it, during the communion, well, that differs from church to church. Some pass trays with the elements on them down the rows of worshipers. Others have participants come to the front of the auditorium to an altar. Some have clergy hand out the emblems, and some distribute one-time use cups that are sealed with both the bread and the wine inside. Now, those came into full use during the COVID pandemic, and many churches are still using them. At Riverwalk, we have both the sealed one-use cups as well as ushers who will serve the elements to those who prefer that method. Those ushers will go up and down the aisles, and they generally know who would prefer to be served because it usually is the same worshipers from week to week. They also then look for raised hands, signaling that the person there would prefer to be served. Well, we sit across from an older lady in our assembly. I believe she's probably the oldest member of our congregation. She's in her mid-90s, and she still drives to services and lives on her own. Doris prefers to be served by an usher because it's difficult for her to use those pre-filled and sealed cups. Last Sunday, I happened to watch as she took the emblem from the tray that Keith was carrying, and when she had done so, she looked up at him and she just mouthed, "Thank you," to him. I turned away and I faced the front again. But I couldn't get out of my mind that simple act of kindness that I just saw. For some reason, Doris mouthing a thank you to the usher was, to me, a profound example of how simple acts of kindness and gratitude can overflow even in the midst of the most routine and mundane events and circumstances. Now, I'm not saying that the communion itself is mundane and routine, far from it. But the idea that someone would thank someone else for doing a job that he was supposed to be doing in the first place, and during a time when our thoughts were on Jesus Christ and his sacrifice on the cross, well, that came across to me as something special and in a real way very integral to the communion itself. We say it often, many of us do, in many ways and many venues. Kindness matters. Civility matters. Gratitude matters. Thankfulness matters. Kindness, civility, gratitude, and thanksgiving, those should be as routine and normal for us as breathing. Those qualities should be embedded into our lives and routines to the point that doing anything to the contrary would create within us a sense of, why in heaven's name did I do that? And cause us to make it right if we could. And if we couldn't, to at least determine that we're going to do better in the future. Be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. You know, the Bible is filled with these kinds of statements. We also find many examples of kindness, gratitude, thanksgiving, and civility in that book. That way of living promotes a kind of inner peace and joy that just can't be matched by anyone else or anything else. The effect on society at large, even if we just commit the small kindnesses and acts of gratitude, well, that's so much greater than just about anything else we could do to influence our corner of the world for the good. And it's something we can all participate in, regardless of our race, creed, color, origin, orientation, wealth, age, or any other marker of who we are. Be kind one to another. You know, that's good stuff. Bless Blessings.